Vicente Luque is going to be taking on Rafael Dos Anjos this weekend, and to honour that, we're going to be taking a look at the top 5 greatest Brazilian fighters in UFC history. Brazil is stacked, man. You can't lie. Brazil is stacked when it comes to MMA. There's been so many champions. It's got to be top 3 best countries in terms of like MMA fighters of all time. There's so many fighters to come out of Brazil. And today we're going to be looking at the 5 greatest Brazilian fighters in the world. One thing I want to clarify is I'm not going to be including promotions outside of the UFC. So for fighters like Wanderlei Silva, who had a very, very good MMA career, but not so great UFC career, because I swear he only had like 4 wins. I'm not going to be including promotions like Pride. I'm only going to be including and taking into account UFC only. So if they had a good UFC career, I'll include them in this video. If not, then I'm not going to be including them. But yeah, let's just go straight into it. Starting off with number 1, I'm going to go the fighter who's actually in the main event this weekend, Rafael Dos Anjos. If you know this guy, you'll know that he's the real BMF of the UFC. You know, we've got people like Justin Gaethje and Nate Diaz, and it's funny and all that, but this guy, if you know his career, you'll know he's the real BMF. He's fought some straight killers out there. Rafael Fiziev, Renato Moicano, Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, prime Robbie Lawler as well. This wasn't Robbie Lawler on a loser streak. This is prime Robbie Lawler. Tony Ferguson, Eddie Alvarez, Donald Cerrone, Anthony Pettis, Nick Diaz, Khabib. I don't think I need to go on the list. Well, when I say prime Robbie Lawler, it wasn't prime Robbie Lawler, okay? It wasn't prime, but it wasn't the terrible Robbie Lawler. So maybe it wasn't prime, but whatever. He's got some notable wins over some of those names as well. Robbie Lawler, obviously. Nate Diaz, he absolutely mogged Nate Diaz as well. He beat Donald Cerrone, and that was actually prime Donald Cerrone. Anthony Pettis, Neil Magny, Kevin Lee. He's a straight killer. And this guy, I think out of everyone in the UFC, he's been in the UFC roster the longest since 2008, which is crazy. He's been in the UFC since 2008, and he's still winning up to this day, man. He's still getting wins. He's coming off a win over Brian Barberena by finish as well. This guy's a BMF. I can't believe that he's still getting wins to this day, man. To say he's been in the UFC for so long. And it's going to be hard to not count him in any list. If he goes out there and beats Vicente Luque, and bearing in mind, Vicente Luque is a straight killer, it's going to be hard to not include this guy in your UFC, Brazilian GOAT list. I don't know, no one has that. But the point is, very, very talented. What he did to Renato Moicano as well, I can't pronounce that name, so please leave me alone, but he mauled him. That wasn't even close. UFC 272, I think it was. He absolutely mauled Renato. It wasn't even a close fight. So, yeah, number 5, Rafael Dos Anjos. Number 4, you've got to respect the OG, Lyoto Machida. This guy was the greatest of all time when it came to karate, or at least up there with Wonderboy. If you look at his old fights, this guy was a striking legend. This guy put masterclasses on everybody. Even John Jones had trouble in that first round. And I understand that Jones put him to sleep in the other rounds, whatever. But that first round against John Jones, Lyoto Machida won because he was outstriking him and everything. Jones couldn't really do anything. In that first round against him because this guy was a striking legend. He's been champ and defended it once, just like Rafael Dos Anjos. Not an easy thing to do to become champ. He joined UFC in 2007 and went on a winning streak in 2018. That's very impressive. He ended his career on 2 wins over, I think it was Vitor Belfort. I don't know who the other one was, but he ended his career on 2 wins. And to say he's been fighting since 2007, and that's in the UFC only. He's got some notable wins as well. Prime Tito Ortiz, before Tito had that extreme CTE. I've juiced up Vitor Belfort, and that was when Belfort was juiced to the gills and taking people's eyes. Rashad Evans, Dan Henderson, Shogun Rua, Randy Couture, Lyoto Machida. You've got to give it to him, the 4th best Brazilian of all time. Yeah, this guy, he's a beast, man. He's a beast. Like, the fact that he was still winning in 2018 after he started his UFC career in 2007 is insane to me. Like I said, one of the best strikers in the UFC history. Got to give it to him. Imagine this guy versus Wonderboy. That's kind of like a dream fight for me. Lyoto Machida versus Wonderboy. I'd love to see that matchup. That would be an absolute karate. That would be a karate masterclass, but unfortunately we don't get to see. But bro, imagine prime Lyoto versus prime Wonderboy. Anyway, number 4, I'm locking in the pick. I'm going with Lyoto Machida. It's hard to disagree with that take. He is one of the best. So I'm going to go with him. Next up, we got your favourite fighter's favourite fighter, and I'm not talking about Justin Gaethje this time, I'm talking about Charles Oliveira, man. He is one of the best lightweights in the world, and I'm not just talking right now, I'm talking of all time. Of course, you gotta give him credit. Khabib, he's the best lightweight in the world, but when it comes to right now, it's got to be Islam, but then Charles Oliveira's up there as well. He's been champion and defended it twice. Yes, I'm going to count the Justin Gaethje fight because who cares that he missed 0.5 pounds? This guy didn't make weight, but he beat Gaethje. I'm counting that as a defence. And I say and counting because he's still in the title talk. Unlike everybody on this list, he's still in the title talk. So he has what it takes to become number one. But right now, he's the third best. But yeah, champion, defended it twice. He's got some of the greatest BJJ in the UFC. It's between him and maybe Royce Gracie, who was also Brazilian, but he has, I think right now, out of everyone in the UFC, he's got the best jiu-jitsu. And this guy's wins, the wins this guy has is insane. A finish over Justin Gaethje, finished Dustin Poirier, finished Beneil Dariush, finished Michael Chandler, couldn't finish El Kukui, but that's fine. I mean, those notable wins alone show that this guy's a straight killer. Look at that resume. And I know he lost to Islam Makhachev, but listen, it's not about Islam, it's about Oliveira. He did start his UFC career quite slow when he was in featherweight, you know. It wasn't really the best start to a career in the UFC, you know, quitting a little bit. But right now, Charles Oliveira, like I said, one of the best lightweights in the world. I think he's the third best Brazilian. With what he's achieved already, he's absolutely insane. You can't deny him. And it's not even just recently that he's been getting good. This guy's been on a winning streak since like 2018. I think he was on like an 8-9 fight win streak. And then he lost to Islam, and then he just picked up another win over Beneil Dariush. He's going to be fighting Islam again in October in Abu Dhabi, and if he wins that, you've got to give some respect to Charles Oliveira, man. But Charles Oliveira, number 3. Number 2, it's got to be Jose Aldo, man. Yes, you're all going to bring up the McGregor situation, but come on, this guy was the best, one of the best featherweights in the world. I'm one of those guys that think Volkanovski's better than Jose Aldo in terms of GOAT at featherweight, but listen, it's not about Volkanovski, it's about Aldo. Aldo was a killer, man. In his prime, Aldo was a killer. Before he got mugged by McGregor, he was a straight killer. He's been champ twice and defended it 6 times, so out of everyone in this list so far, that's such a good resume, man. Been champ twice and defended it 6 times. You know how hard it is to defend the belt 6 times? Most champions nowadays defend their belt maybe once, twice. If they're lucky, 3-4 times, but 6 times is insane. He's one of the greatest featherweights of all time. 100% of it's between him and Volkanovski. You can't deny it. And he went, like I said, he went on an insane run. In his prime, in Jose Aldo's prime, he was on an absolute insane run. It's hard to not doubt this guy. But from 2011 up until the McGregor fight, which was like 2015, this guy was on an insane run. And even after the McGregor fight, he picked up so many notable wins. Frankie Edgar, Jeremy Stevens, Moicano, Munoz, Vera, Rob Font, and I've got some down there as well. And before the McGregor situation, he even had some killers on there as well. Frankie Edgar twice, and Frankie Edgar was insane. Chad Mendes twice. Korean Zombie when Korean Zombie was in his prime. Jose Aldo was an absolute monster. And the thing is, like I said, he's been in the UFC for so long. He's been in the UFC something like 2011. And I know he got, Merab ruined it. But before the Merab fight, he was on a 3-fight winning streak to Rob Font, Marlon Vera, and Pedro Munoz. And those guys are top bantamweights now. Those 3 guys are some of the best bantamweights in the world right now. And Jose Aldo just beat him like he was nothing. Obviously, Merab came and ruined the fun because everyone hates Merab. But number 2 goes to Jose Aldo. And number 1, I think everyone knows who's coming. It's got to be Anderson Silva. It's normal. Anderson Silva is one of the best of all time in the UFC, not just Brazilians. Top 5 greatest UFC fighters ever, for real. He's been the champion with 10 title defenses. Like, there's me saying that 6 title defenses is impressive, but look at 10. 10 title defenses. He's one of the greatest strikers to ever do it. You can't deny, if that was a GOAT list for strikers, it's going to be very difficult to not put Anderson Silva in the top 5. This guy was so impressive, and he did go on a bit, at the end of his career was a bit shady. A couple people on this list went out on a high. Unfortunately, Silva wasn't one of those people. He went out on a losing streak with his only win, which was Derek Brunson, which wasn't too bad, to be fair. Getting a win over Derek Brunson, who then went into title talks before he got mauled by Jairo Cannonier, isn't too much. You can't hate him for that bad. I can't speak, man. Can't hate him that badly for it, but This guy's some notable ones as well. Another juiced up Vitor Belfort, but then again, Anderson Silva was also juiced up. Stefan Bonner, rest in peace. Damian Maia, Dan Henderson. I guess he beat Chael Sonnen, but listen, you can't beat Chael Sonnen. You're not that good, bro. You're not the guy to beat Chael Sonnen. Look at you, man. Anyway, though, Anderson Silva, the greatest Brazilian of all time. In my opinion, like I said, the 5 greatest ever, regardless of countries. What this guy did to people, man. Which fight was it? Was it the Damian Maia fight where he was just trolling him the entire fight? That guy showed levels, and even the Vitor Belfort front kick to the face. This guy's career was insane. So for me, the best Brazilian to ever live in the UFC is Anderson Silva. But hey, in these next few years, we might get a lot of upcoming fighters that are from Brazil, because listen, we've got people like Pantoja, like I said, Oliveira, Alex Pereira. There's so many more Brazilians, but for now, I'm going to be including Anderson Silva for the best. And then we go back to this picture, and this is a bit of an outdated picture, so that's why it doesn't have people like Alex Pereira. But anyway, that is my 5 greatest Brazilian fighters in the UFC. Please let me know if I missed anyone out, or you agree with this list or disagree. And yeah, that's my 5 greatest people from Brazil.